My wife did something very offensive yesterday, Paul Thurrott.
Okay.
And she is very proud of herself about this.
Wow.
It was something related to school. I can't even remember at that point. But my wife sent me a message that says, per my email.
Ooh. Ooh, that's not a good
And
start.
I responded like, did you just per my email me?
You
And
just
she went,
lost 1 star in my review automatically.
I was like, wow. I said, I didn't think spouses did that to each other. And she goes, oh, I did.
Oh, that's brutal.
Still alive, though. So,
I'll do that story. We were hiking with my brother-in-law. I shouldn't say this publicly. And we with my brother-in-law and my sister, and him and I were ahead of them, and you can hear them talking behind us, and I'm as we're going on and we're talking, I can hear their voices getting softer and softer. And I said, if we just keep going like this, their voices will disappear and we'll be free forever. And then he just started jogging.
well, you could
Yeah.
jog right on back to E3, which is,
Well, that'll be great, without Sony and Microsoft. So,
or Nintendo, I'm guessing,
or
too.
Nintendo, yeah. What's left? Well, I guess Activision, Blizzard. Oh, wait.
Sure.
Maybe by that time, EA will be acquired.
Yeah, by somebody.
This will become like an indie game show.
Which probably is what it really should be to begin with, because obviously Microsoft, Sony, and whatever else, Nintendo don't need E3, never have.
I have this vague memory. Maybe I don't really remember this, but I feel like E3 started out like CES started out, which was really just a place for businesses to have meetings with each other and see what each other were doing and make partnerships and do things like that. And then someone at some point was like, hey, we should let the public in, and then it turned into like a trade show. Well, I mean, it was always a trade show, but it was a very specific niche market trade show. And then it became like this big event. And, we know because it happened that the big players started bowing out of it because it's not necessarily the greatest way to do what they're trying to do. And, they're on different schedules and whatever. I feel like haven't trade shows kind of run their course?
Yeah.
Maybe not. Industry
Large
trade
gatherings
shows
of unwashed.
any large gatherings. Oh, God. It's like going to a concert. It's like jumping into a petri dish. Anyhow, I guess it always was, right? Always was.
Yeah. I don't know. I was thinking in my brain about my favorite comment I've ever said, which is a real weird phrase to say, that CES is great if you've ever been to an airport and you said, I wish I could do this without the planes. Because that's
Yep.
what it
That's
is.
exactly right. That's exactly right.
Oh.
That's funny.
So, there wasn't a ton of news yesterday other than potentially, I think it was Bloomberg saying that the next iPhone, they may not call it the Max. They might be moving to the Ultra branding instead of the Max.
I like
branding.
that might be major news. I did read this. I don't read everything Mark Gurman writes. He wrote a sort of review of the iPhone 14 Pro and mentioned that in there. And the one thing he said, I feel like everyone's like going to be like, yeah, this is obvious, but I think it bears repeating. In the early days of the iPhone, you could basically skip a year, and that was the typical cycle. People would buy a phone every 2 years. And that's how the phrase S year came into play, because Apple started addressing that every other year issue by having like an S model, which was basically just a small upgrade of the previous one. But they don't do that anymore. And the reason is the upgrade cycle is now closer to 3 years, probably over for some people. And his argument was that since the iPhone, I don't know, 6, probably, we've been on like a 3-year upgrade cycle. There's only one phase where that didn't really hold true, I guess. But you could argue that right now we're at the tail end of a 4-year cycle.
Yeah.
Between we'll call it the 10, the X, whatever, 11, 12, 13. Actually, we're in 14, aren't we? I don't know what we're on, but he was saying next year is going to be a major change. So if you're holding out,
I don't know.
Hold out one more year.
Yeah. But what are you holding out for?
Well, it's like the Apple Watch I just bought. And I keep reading about this thing, and it is astonishing how little difference there is between this year and last year.
Oh,
And
yeah.
how and between that year and the year before, and between that year and the year before. Like, this is their newest big hardware product, really, and right? I mean, maybe I don't know, AirPods Pro or something, or AirPods in general. I don't know, but as far as being like a complex, this is a computer on your wrist, right? So the fact that this thing has already matured to the point where it's super iterative is kind of amazing. Like the iPhone's been around for 15 years. Like that makes sense, you know?
Counterpoint. They're killing the market.
So why bother? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
you know what though? So I was, okay. So probably shouldn't say this out loud because this is a good article, but I was just thinking about this the other day. Like, what's the future here? Like, in other words, you can do ECG off of your wrist, but that's not really how you do an ECG. Like, if you've ever done this, you get multiple nodes on you. It's, you know, it takes some time. You go to a doctor's office. Obviously, the way as things improve, miniaturization occurs, but there's some stuff you just can't do. Like, this thing will probably never be able to measure your blood pressure, which honestly, when you think about like health metrics you might want to measure, blood pressure is probably the number one, you know, of all. I mean, and it's the one none of these things can do. You can buy a thing where you strap something on your arm and, you know, you pump the thing or does it, you know, electrically. And I'm sure there are versions that connect to watches and phones and computers and stuff like that. But the fact remains, this is like an external piece of equipment. And the thing that occurred to me was like the future of this device and other devices like this, honestly, are embedded technology, right? You'll have little sensors in your body all the time, like they'll be there permanently. And you might not need a watch, but you might use one just for the display to see. Like, in other words, hey, we're doing an automatic blood test or blood pressure test. You know, sit down and remain still or whatever. And then you could watch this to, you know that it's doing its thing. But I think we're reaching a point, like battery life is an issue. Obviously, we talk about that a lot, but the what you can do with sensors and like what sensors you can even have, I think we're kind of maxed out on this already. You know, we're based on a wearable on your wrist, you know?
I don't know where you're heading with that comment, but I'm not even going to.
No, I mean, I think the future, well, I mean, like
I'm focusing in on the wearable. There's another option that would be
okay,
orifice related.
We'll leave that one. Well, just the insertion process of your Apple specialist.
The probing. Yep.
Genius. The phrase genius takes on a whole new. No, but we used to make fun of people walking around with the white earbud things, right? And back then they were wired because they were like these like drones, you know, walking around, you know, like not paying attention to anything. But I mean, the future of that is going to be these people who have, you know, things in their body. And I think the way we're going to know is they're going to have like an Apple tattoo on their shoulder or something. Like that's how it'll be like a white Apple logo on their arm. And that's how we'll know. Because it's not worth doing unless other people know you're doing it.
The one Apple product that has come out that I am not strangely, interested in, of all of them that came out other than the iPhone that about my wife that I might pick up, would be the AirPod Pro, whatever want to.
Yep, exactly. Me too. Yep.
I have my AirPods that I have are the first gen, and the battery life is about, I don't know, 5 minutes, maybe 6 minutes. But more specifically, because they now have the ANC noise canceling, and it's supposed to be really good. But more importantly, I'm taking a bunch of trips next year on flights, and currently I take the Sony WXM1003s, whatever they are, the big cans. Which these are my favorite headphones ever, but they're the big cans.
Yep.
And so if I could get good earbuds, that would just.
So let me just walk you down a quick progression because I did the same. I traveled here with Bose over the ear. I don't like things over my ear. It makes my ear sweat. You know, it's weird. They're the smaller ones that just kind of sit out there. You know, same problem. At some point, actually, Mark Rozinovich was the guy who showed them to me. It was like I don't remember the names of them, but they were Bose wired noise canceling headphones. So they still had wires, little earbuddy things.
Yep. I remember those. You had them.
Right. Little slider on them. The problem was you had to have separate versions for Android and iPhone. The Android versions would work on iPhone, so I got that version. But then headphone plugs went away. You can use a dongle, but there are static issues, and it's not great. But now they have the things you're describing, which are earbuds that have ANC noise canceling. Great. So I have the Bose versions. They're a little larger than some, you know, larger than the AirPod Pro for sure. Great. ANC is great. But you know what? The problem is those things pop out of your ears. And like, God help you if you fall asleep on a flight or you're just not paying attention. The little thing goes bing, 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 and it goes off. You ever drop a football on the ground? You know how footballs have an odd shape, so they could go in any direction. That's what earbuds do. And just yesterday, coincidentally, I was on the elliptical at the gym, and I actually caused this. I think I did something like this. Thing went boonk, and it hit the elliptical next to me, and it flew off like 10 feet in the other direction. I was like, idiot. But in a wide open space, right? I could see it. These things are black. Now, AirPods at least are white. So maybe you could, but you know how dark planes are. People have stuff. You could, move right under someone's bag or something. I guarantee you people have lost these things on flights.
Oh, yeah. They're probably making a kill. Can you buy one AirPod?
You should be able to, by the way, but no, probably not. I don't know. But I don't know. Maybe there's a Apple Care or something that will cover this. But just think about that. That's all. I agree with you. Those would probably work great, but you want to be careful. And by the way, in the mask era, which we now have left, but I've flown multiple times, you have to wear a mask.
Yep.
And then the food or drink comes out, and you have an earbud in your ear, and you have to get the mask off without, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
another level of difficulty. Just throwing it out there, but
yeah,
that
is a good point.
For flying, the things you have might be the best choice. But yeah, you could bring this little thing, throw it in a bag, you never even notice it.
Right.
The appeal is obvious. It's obvious. But you know yourself better than anybody. Some people, maybe these things come out more easily. I think maybe over time they come out more easily, probably, right? But if you don't find yourself dropping those a lot, then, whatever. But just think about it. That's all. Or don't. I don't care. Do what you want. Why are you arguing?